Here's a secret. I was never one of the cool kids, and I know exactly how it feels to feel like you're on the outside looking in, especially if you carry extra weight and you're comparing yourself to thinner people. I grew up feeling like I didn't belong. I had girlfriends who were thin, they were beautiful, they were athletic, and I wasn't. I wasn't because I was overweight and I waddled. Welcome, everybody, to Confessions of a Binge Eater. Yes, that's me. I was a binge eater and I could pack away so many calories. How many? I don't know, 2,000, 3,000, close to 4,000 calories in a sitting. I'm not proud of it, but that's what happened. And that's why I'm here today talking to you. I'm founder of a company called Heal Your Hunger, and I help people heal their relationship with food so they don't have to go through the binge eating torture that I went through. And if they've been through it themselves, talking to you, then guess what? There's a way out. You don't have to live that way anymore. So I have real and raw conversations here, and I'm committed to that because we don't need the gloss. We don't need the phony. We don't need to be feeling worse than we already feel, right? You need real and raw. So I'm here with my experience. So this topic recently came up because somebody who's an emotional eater looked at me and thought, I'm not like her. I wasn't one of the cool kids. She's a cool kid. And when somebody related this to me, I just about fell off my chair. I said, one of the cool kids? Are you kidding me? That was so not me. But I realized that because I have really cool hair, because I blow it out with this really cool thing called the Dyson Airwrap, plug, because I have good hair and I'm not in the body I used to be. I used to be 50 pounds heavier. I realized some people might think I was one of the cool kids, but here's a secret. I was never one of the cool kids, and I know exactly how it feels to feel like you're on the outside looking in, especially if you carry extra weight and you're comparing yourself to thinner people. I grew up feeling like I didn't belong. I had girlfriends who were thin, they were beautiful, they were athletic, they were fast on the playing field, the soccer field, lacrosse field, whatever. And I wasn't. I wasn't because I was overweight and I waddled. I waddled, and at the beach in the summertime, my legs chafed. They got raw and the salt water would sting once I chafed my legs. So I lived with so much shame and pain around my weight and around feeling like I wasn't cool. So I really want to address this because I'm here on account of the pain of that feeling, and I've never forgotten it. And I still don't feel like I'm one of the cool kids, and I can hang around certain people in my world or my professional world where I still feel like a loser. And yeah, I felt like a loser. I didn't feel like I was funny enough. I didn't think I was pretty enough. I certainly wasn't thin enough. And that old feeling, that deep-seated sense of worthlessness can still creep back into my life. And I thought it would be worth talking about it here. Now, where did this come from? Well, I'll tell you right now, it didn't help that my sister, one of my sisters, I had two older sisters, and my middle sister, I'm the youngest, my middle sister was always tall and thin. She was slender and she had a beautiful body. And she also was top of her class, uber smart. She went to Harvard. You see where I'm going with this? She was popular with the boys. And I was none of those things. And so I compared myself, of course, and I came up short. Compare and despair. Do you do that? I did a lot of it. And so I kind of felt like I was a loser compared to her. And the crazy thing is, we compared notes later in our lives. She had eating issues as well as my other sister. We were three for three. We all had eating issues and dealt with them in different ways. But when we compared notes later, my middle sister and I, she did not see me the way I saw myself. She valued me and considered me her confidant and friend. And she was a foot taller than me, like an adolescent. She shot up like a beanstalk, and she was a foot taller than me. But her perception was not the same as mine. So I compared myself and came up short. And she always thought more highly of me than I certainly thought of myself. But the point is that I grew up comparing and feeling bad about myself, and certainly because of my weight and because I compared myself to my friends who were beanstalks and fast and athletic. So this is what I grew up with. And even though I'm not that now, and I got help many years ago with my emotional eating, and I lost that weight and I kept it off, it creeps back into my life now and then. So I want to talk about this because it can fuel emotional eating when we are doing the compare and despair thing. But I think it's really important to know that so many of us carry these insecurities within us, even if we don't look like we've got any reason to be insecure. So don't compare your insides with other people's outsides. That's lesson number one. Now, I have a story to tell you regarding my weight and being overweight in high school, which was a deep source of shame for me. I was so ashamed of my weight and feeling out of control with food, which I was. This is way pre-Spanx, okay? Way pre-Spanx. What I would do to try to look thinner than I was I would take my control top pantyhose. Do you remember the ones that came, they're called legs, and they came in an egg-shaped container? So I would buy those control top pantyhose that had really tight control. And as soon as they ran, like I got to run in my stocking, I would cut off the stocking part and keep the control part. So it was like a makeshift girdle. And I would wear that under my pants to suck me in so I would appear thinner than I was. And this is just one of my many attempts to try to fit in, try to look better than I did, to be cool. And what is cool anyway? Cool is a sense of belonging. And I never felt that way. I just always felt like I was on the outside, and it plagued me. If only I had just thought, hey, I am who I am. If only I'd had self-confidence and self-acceptance and didn't try to get into the inner crowd or whatever, God, I would have been so much happier. But I didn't. I kept striving, and it did end me up. And it did cause me to be a bit of a social climber and also loud. I could be kind of loud and obnoxious, seeking attention, hoping to be liked, which I'm sure had the opposite effect. But all the more reason why, when I started Heal Your Hunger, that I knew how vital it was to have community for people who have always felt on the outside to all of a sudden feel like they belong. So with Heal Your Hunger, we do most of what we do in community, in groups with other emotional eaters. Our Zoom calls are in community. We do breakouts with smaller groups of like 4 or so women, but I have coaches who do one-on-one coaching, but we, more than anything, get together as a community so that we can feel like we belong, so that we can heal that sense of not belonging. Because believe it or not, that sense of isolation and that sense of not belonging fuels our overeating. I spent so many years binging in front of the television. I did this alone. I had a deep ache inside, and it didn't even matter if I was with friends or I was in a group with others. I still had this ache. I had a deep hole in my soul, and I filled it with food, hoping to stop feeling so empty. Do you ever feel that way? Well, I have news for you. This is one of the symptoms of being an emotional eater. And if you don't know if you're an emotional eater, you can go to my website, take a quiz, and find out if you're an emotional eater or a food addict or somewhere in between. That's a free quiz. But for those of us who are emotional eaters or food addicts, so often one of the many symptoms is this ache, this feeling of loneliness, no matter how many people we're around. And that is something we eat over time and time again. The good news is you don't have to keep feeling that way. And when you do address and heal your relationship with food, that ache goes away. You no longer feel lonely. You no longer feel like you're the only one who feels the way you feel or does the things you do. That's why community with other emotional eaters is so important. So that's my point number 2 for this podcast, is make sure you're in community with other emotional eaters who have a solution, okay? It's not just a support group for people who are flailing, and trying to figure it out. No, get on board with a solution. And I highly recommend the Heal Your Hunger method. When you do this method with others in community, it just heals that sense of isolation, which heals your relationship with food, because so much of our binges have to do with that. The last thing I want to share is that when we carry around this feeling of worthlessness inside, and it's not loud, it's deeply hidden. So you might feel like, hey, I don't feel worthless. I will say that this can run deep and it can sneak up on you. So even if consciously you're like, I know I'm beautiful. I know it doesn't matter what size I am. I know that my friends like me and I'm a good person. Even if you say that, in your heart of hearts, you might not always buy it. And when you have a lingering, deep-seated sense that you're not enough, it shows up and sabotages you. So really important that no matter what you consciously think about yourself, my experience is this deep-seated sense that we're not enough can sabotage our choices. It can even make us say no to opportunities that God puts in front of us. And I'll give you an example of that. About 4.5 years ago, I met a man who was a great fit for me. And I just had so much fun with him from like the first text. We met on a dating site. So from the very first text, I was having fun. I was laughing. Our first date was epic. It was 3 hours long. It was so good. And I almost killed it. Because guess what? As we went along dating, and he canceled his other dates, by the way. I was his one and only Bumble date. So he canceled all his other dates, and we were full on enjoying each other's company, doing fun things around town. And that little girl inside who didn't feel worthy, that little girl who thought she didn't deserve somebody so fabulous or didn't deserve to be so loved, she reared her ugly head. And I had to do everything possible to talk to her and clear her fears so that I didn't mess up the relationship. So I say that because self-sabotage can come in many forms. And it usually stems from that deep-seated sense that we don't deserve to feel loved. We don't deserve to feel happy. We don't deserve to be loved or to feel that good. So by the grace of God, I've been on a healing journey for a long time. And what I would do when those thoughts came up, and it's never like, oh, I'm not feeling worthy of being loved. It happened like in the form of feeling uncomfortable and wanting to pick a fight, feeling uncomfortable and wanting to kind of just make something out of nothing. But I'd been on this path of healing long enough to say, oh, there she is. She's trying to push love away. And that's common for emotional eaters. Okay. And so what I would do is I'd write about it. I'd write down all my crazy, all the thoughts. I don't deserve him. What am I doing with somebody so handsome? He's going to find out who I really am. This can't last. All those scary thoughts that our head throws at us to get us back to comfortably miserable. I would write about it. I would talk about it. And I would pray about it. And thank God I didn't mess it up. So here we are 4.5 years later, having a lot of fun still. So I share that because subconsciously, those beliefs are typically in there if you're an emotional eater. They just run deep. They run deep, and it takes work. And that's the kind of work my clients are doing. I believe God's grace can heal these things, but not alone. God needs our help, which means we need to spot these things, and we need to do the necessary writing and talking and praying and relating with other emotional eaters who have these deep-seated beliefs, these untrue deep-seated beliefs, in order to heal so that we don't mess good things up, including weight loss, right? Including weight loss. We all know what it's like to sabotage our success around weight loss. And I'm telling you, these deep-seated untrue beliefs will do that. I don't deserve to be thin. I don't deserve to feel good. It's not safe to look this good. This can't last. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve love. On and on and on. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? So that's the third thing. You got to go deep in order to heal. And I don't mean therapy necessarily, because I didn't heal in therapy. It didn't go deep enough for me. I needed to heal at a deeper level. And that did come from so many of the tools that I teach my clients in the Heal Your Hunger method, because it worked for me and it's still working for me. And I teach to my clients and it's working for them. So I'm really happy about that. And I'm happy to share that with you. If you want to have a conversation, I'd be happy to talk with you about what this healing journey looks like. You can go to my website, and there might be time on my schedule for a breakthrough session. I'm not sure. I do a lot of traveling, but if there is, grab a spot and let's talk. But in closing, I want to tell you, I was never one of the cool kids. And yet here I am. I've accepted that I'm not a cool kid, and I no longer try to be one of the cool kids. I hang out with emotional eaters who are on a healing journey, who are embracing their personal development and healing those dark places inside themselves. And together we're healing, and together we're feeling great. Together we're improving our health, and you can have that too. So don't forget the power of community on your healing journey. And just know you are fabulous the way that you are. You don't have to be anybody but you. Thanks so much for listening. Please share this show with somebody who might need a little boost. And I'll see you in the next show. If you're ready to get off the dieting roller coaster ride and finally make peace with food and with your body, talk to a Heal Your Hunger mentor about what steps you need to take based on your own history with food and weight. Go to healyourhunger.com and register for an emotional eating breakthrough session and see how fast you can experience real change. It's a complimentary evaluation, but there are limited spots available. So go to healyourhunger.com and register to speak with a mentor today.